can!
It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle. So a good performance.
Are you watching Firstpost? I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get the show started. On the show today, seems like Australia is missing India's presence at the WTC final, even as South Africa is gearing up for what is the most massive moment in their cricketing history so far. Is the buzz simply missing from within the contest and outside? Or will the Proteas prove all wrong? Lots of football heading your way. India suffered a humiliating loss to Hong Kong, denting their chance of making it to the AFC Asian Cup. Fans show their outrage. Is Manolo Marquez's time running out? And speaking of running out of time, the England football team was booed after they suffered a shock defeat at the hands of Senegal. Breaking infamous records in the process, is Thomas Tuchel's honeymoon phase over as the FIFA World Cup now looms large? But first, let's take a look at the headlines on Sports 360. Starting with cricket, the Indian cricket team will earn around $1.5 million for finishing third in the current World Test Championship cycle. This almost equals what the winners of the last two editions earned, because BCCI has increased the WTC prize purse. The winner of the South Africa versus Australia clash this year will take home $3.6 million, and the team that finishes second will earn $2.1 million. Former West Indies cricketer Nicholas Pooran has been named captain of the Major League Cricket side MI New York. This comes after the batter announced his shock retirement from international cricket. Pooran has been part of the franchise since 2023, where they lifted the inaugural trophy. The MLC season will kickstart on June 12th. On to football. Brazil has qualified for the 2026 FIFA World Cup after a 1-0 win over Paraguay. Vinicius Jr. scored the only goal of the match to take Brazil to third spot in the table. Ecuador too have entered the finals with a second-place finish. Argentina, on the other hand, maintained the top spot despite their 1-1 draw against Colombia. Former Manchester City player Kevin De Bruyne is set to join Italian champions Napoli. The player has reportedly agreed to a 2-year deal and an option to extend with the club. Medical and official announcements are yet to follow. The Belgian star spent a decade with Manchester City, winning 6 league titles, a Champions League and a Club World Cup. And summing it up with news from F1, India's 10-year-old karting prodigy Atika Mir secured a top 10 finish at the Rotax Euro Trophy, a competitive race that has been the breeding ground for top F1 drivers like Max Verstappen, Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris and George Russell, to name a few. Despite wet and challenging conditions in Czech Republic, Mir steered her way to the finish line. She's now the Asian driver with the highest position in the karting realm. Australia is up against South Africa in the WTC final that's begun today, but till a day earlier, it almost felt like they were pining for India, that they almost missed facing India in the final. For South Africa, this is a huge first, making it to the Test Championship final, especially around the grave uncertainty that is swirling the future of Test cricket within the country, and the occasion is not lost on them. The board, in particular, South Africa Cricket Board, has been doing all it can to make sure the squad has been in the zone ahead of the big final. But it seems like the buzz around an Australia versus South Africa clash in any format, let alone this one in Tests, is not quite catching on. Before I delve deeper into the statement, let's first listen to what Aussie captain Pat Cummins said about facing South Africa in the final and who he might have fancied otherwise.
In some ways, you expect India to be around. We just don't see a lot of them in Test cricket, but it's nice and different to an Australia-India final. Our route to the final was pretty tough, but I don't blame South Africa for having a different route.
Australia clearly has a love-hate relationship with India. They love to face them, almost yearn for a contest against this Indian side. And when the two actually come face to face, it's all heat and plenty of hate. Of course, the future encounters will dearly miss the chief protagonist in all confrontations, Virat Kohli, and Test cricket in general will be poorer because of this. It's a strange affection, though, that Australia particularly has for India, a challenge that they never get tired of. And to be fair, Australia and India have seen some outstanding cricket and contests being played. They love to face the Indian men's side, and the desire to beat them every single time is only that much more intense, to the extent that they are probably forgetting how potent a side South Africa can truly be. In fact, at this point, Australia aren't enjoying facing the bowling attack. They are on the mat as the day one has progressed in that WTC final. They have not lost a single test, South Africa, that Temba Bavuma has captained. So clearly momentum seems to be with them. And they will be upbeat coming into this one.
We accept and understand that it's going to be a tough against the Australians. The guys who played against them know. And look, I mean, they've been good times, they've been bad times, and we need to feed off all those good times. So, yeah, I think time for the emotions and the stories and all of that is to put it behind us and really be ready to play what's in front of us.
But what about the audience, the spectators, the viewers? Are they just as kicked about this particular matchup? At least the ticket sales tell you one story. MCC had set ticket prices at premium rates, hoping for an India presence in the final. With that not happening, unfortunately, owing to what the Border Gavaskar Trophy turned out to be, they were forced to slash ticket rates, hence resulting in a £4 million loss for the Lords. They are now being sold, the tickets, each of them around £40 to £90, much lower than what they had originally priced it at. Now, it seems like India doesn't need to be in a final to be talked about. Clearly, they are a conversation starter even when they are absent. German manager Thomas Tuchel experienced his first as England boss, a first loss. And it wasn't just any defeat. The Three Lions suffered a shocking 1-3 loss against Senegal in a friendly and at home, a side they were expected to beat. This also marked England's first ever loss to an African opponent. Following the defeat, Tuchel and his players faced the wrath of fans who booed them off the pitch, something that's becoming an all too common sight during Tuchel's short tenure so far. Before the Senegal loss, a similar scene played out during England's scrappy World Cup qualifier win against Andorra. Their lackluster first half performance didn't really sit too well with their supporters. Fans jeered the team off the pitch, and frankly, why wouldn't they? England, ranked 4th in the world, was struggling against Andorra, ranked 173rd. Thankfully, Captain Harry Kane's goal offered some relief, but it was just the start of a downward spiral. We saw that against Senegal. While England looked dismal against Andorra, they were even worse in their loss to Senegal, raising serious questions about Tuchel and his squad. Although it's still early days for Tuchel, with just 4 matches in charge and 3 wins, fans are restless because they see history repeating itself. And with less than a year to go for the FIFA World Cup, that's a worrying sign. England experienced a similar pattern under former manager Gareth Southgate. Take their Euro 2024 run, for example. Despite an easy group, England barely scraped through, relying on moments of brilliance, like that Jude Bellingham's overhead kick against Slovakia, rather than consistent, strong performance. Under Tuchel, it's more of the same, but without those standout moments.
Again, not really good enough. We had again moments. Just with and without the ball, we aren't quite clicking. We're not going to panic, but for sure we know we need to do better.
That's quite an admission. Fans have seen this though for years, and many feel they're on the verge of changing their famous chant from "It's coming home" to "It's never coming home." Despite the precarious situation, Tuchel remains confident.
We have 3 qualification games, we have 9 points and not conceded. We will be competitive in September. We don't go next week to the World Cup, we go in 1 year.
While a positive outlook is good, what Tuchel needs to understand is that it's not his tactical changes that are being questioned. His squad selection is under intense scrutiny. The management is showing way too much loyalty to aging players instead of bringing in young, dynamic talent like Trent Alexander-Arnold, for example. Instead, they continue to play Kyle Walker, a decision that cost them dearly against Senegal. England looked ragged, disorganized and in shambles, with defensive mistakes from players like Walker contributing to that defeat.
England, on the one hand, you don't want to overreact, but the signs aren't great. We're on the outside looking in, but there's something missing. They don't look like a happy group. England were off it in every aspect of the game. I think Walker is being lazy. They are having a chat like they are in Starbucks. Do your job.
Clearly, the star culture is once again a major problem for English football, and this issue isn't limited to football alone. Take cricket, for example. England's cricket team recently got knocked out of the group stages of the ICC Champions Trophy, their 3rd consecutive major failure despite a heavily marketed approach. They claim their focus is on winning trophies, but their results tell a different story. Group stage exits and disappointing performances. English football seems to be going through the very same cycle. Tuchel said they have a year until the World Cup, but if they keep faltering against teams like Senegal and barely scraping past sides like Andorra, even a year may not be enough to fix the damage that's done. What England's sporting culture needs right now is a reality check. Sure, Tuchel is doing all he can, finding innovative ways to get his team to train in heated tents, preparing them for the harsh summer that is to come next year. But maybe what they really need is a mirror before that. Reflect over what's gone wrong and make the necessary changes that will ensure results. Indian football has hit a new low. A 1-0 loss to Hong Kong in the AFC Asian Cup qualifiers has dented their chances of making it to the 2027 tournament. The squad looks disjointed, the fans are disgruntled, the coaching staff seem confused, and the management, they're scrambling for answers. But beyond the defeat, it's the tactics that have triggered serious questions about where Indian football is really headed. That match against Hong Kong wasn't just any game. It was a must-win for both the Indian team and their manager, Manolo Marquez. After a disappointing draw in their opening fixture against Bangladesh, India needed a strong comeback, a strong response here. One that could salvage their Asian Cup chances, especially considering history hasn't been kind to India in this matchup. They've never beaten Hong Kong on their home turf, and this time they were up against a manager who knows Indian football inside out, Ashley Westwood, the former Bengaluru FC boss. He already has a solid track record against the Blue Tigers, having led Afghanistan to win and a draw against India in the FIFA World Cup 2026 qualifiers. Now he's taken down India with Hong Kong too. But what's truly baffling is Marquez's plan. Despite convincing Sunil Chhetri to come out of retirement, he started out benched him in a crucial game. And when Chhetri did come on, more than half the match had already gone by, a clear managerial misstep. Under Marquez, India has won just 1 game in 8. They haven't scored a single goal in the last 3 games. Fans aren't just disappointed, they are angry. And now reports suggest that Marquez wants out. He has asked the AIFF, the federation that governs football here in India, to relieve him of his duties. Despite signing a 2-year contract, the Spanish manager reportedly wants to leave after just 11 months of being on the job. But here's the real question: what will that fix? While the results under Marquez have been poor, the issues plaguing Indian football is far deeper. The functioning of the All India Football Federation is under serious scrutiny. Several players have come forward claiming they haven't been paid bonuses from the 2023-24 season. Many are still waiting on match fees, daily allowances and other dues. And instead of resolving these concerns, the AIFF thought it wise to announce a cash reward of $50,000 for the squad if they beat Hong Kong. That's like offering candy to a child in exchange for good behavior. But what AIFF seems to forget is these aren't kids. These are professionals playing at the international level. Prominent voices within Indian football are now openly calling out the AIFF. And this is far from the only issue. The team appears stuck in the past. When Igor Stimac exited, there was hope of a fresh start, a new era. But instead of investing in young talents, the management turned back to India's greatest ever, Sunil Chhetri. A decision that unfortunately didn't work. And now, after the Hong Kong match, it's becoming more clear that we may have seen the last of Chhetri in India colours. That may actually be a blessing in disguise for the sport, for Indian football. And don't get me wrong, having Chhetri in your squad, in your corner, is a privilege. He's a huge asset. His passion, professionalism and work ethics, even in the twilight of his career, have been unmatched. But how long can India continue to lean on one man? When will they start planning for that future? Because football is still a team sport. One great player doesn't win you trophies if he needs support from the rest. If that were the case, Cristiano Ronaldo would have 5 World Cups to his name. Robert Lewandowski would have one with Poland. But that's not how the sport works. It takes a squad, a vision, a system to create a legacy and build a winning formula. That's why countries like Brazil, Argentina, Germany, Italy, and of course now Spain and France have consistently succeeded. They have banked on identifying and grooming talents along with a systematic functioning. Which is why, when politics entered Brazil football, even the great Seleção seemed out of order. What India needs now is a manager who can build a team from the ground up, someone who can scout talent, nurture it, and inspire players to proudly represent the nation. More importantly, they need a federation that clears dues before offering bonuses, one that backs its players and coaching staff with long-term support and not just knee-jerk reactions, because Indian football doesn't need another quick fix. It needs a complete reboot. And above all, it needs patience. Time for last serve. England superstar Jude Bellingham's brother has followed in his footsteps. 19-year-old Joe Bellingham has been signed up by Bundesliga club Borussia Dortmund and has already started training. Well, his skills certainly say he belongs here. Take a look. That wraps it up here on First Sports. I'll of course see you again tomorrow. Till then, do take care. Bye-bye.